right, welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Ash. We're going to name this podcast Friday's Friendly Budget Bourbon. And we're going to try to find some bourbons for less than $50. Again, it's going to be easier on the pocketbooks and great bourbons that are just accessible, dependable, and still meets our requirements of being under $50. This week, our top pick for best of sipping is Michter's Kentucky Straight Bourbon, which you can find is readily available at most liquor stores for under $50, $47.99. It is 90 proof with tasty notes of sweet corn, a little bit of white pepper, and a little bit of peach notes on the tongue. Now, Michter's is a very popular distillery. It's located in Louisville, Kentucky. They are fairly new in the Kentucky bourbon business. However, they have a rich history that goes back, spanning all the way to Shanks and Bombergers in the late 1800s. It became under new ownership, obviously, and moved to Louisville, Kentucky in 2015. Now, another budget-friendly bourbon for less than $50 that I think is pretty good by itself, but also makes a fantastic mixer is going to be Wild Turkey 101. And again, this is going to be 101 proof. It has notes of maple, a little bit of char, and cinnamon. This one makes fantastic old fashions as well as a Manhattan. And I could probably look up here a recipe for a Manhattan. Let's see here. Okay, so the Manhattan is a real popular cocktail that has your choice of bourbon, sweet vermouth, bitters, and of course, a maraschino cherry. This was a drink that was created, looks like around 1880 in Manhattan Club in New York City. Thus, it's called the Manhattan. All right, here we go. Ingredients. 2 ounces of whiskey, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and of course, finish it off with a garnish of cherry. Add it into the glass, stir. That's pretty simple. So let's go back to another budget bourbon for less than $50. My third drink and final drink, I'm going to have to say, is Woodford Reserve. They're straight bourbon. Again, this one retails right around $37 to $39. It is also 90 proof with tastes of honey, butterscotch, and a little bit of cinnamon spice on the back end. This is obviously from Woodford Distillery, which is iconic distillery there in Kentucky. Some fantastic choices, so you don't have to worry about busting the budget and spending all your money on high dollar bourbons. You can kind of find some great alternatives from great distilleries under $50. Let's end on this note. What's the difference between bourbon and other whiskeys? So bourbon is a category of whiskey. All whiskeys are not bourbon, but all bourbon is whiskey. Is defined by several types of distinctions, of course, geographical, grain composition, aging, proofing, barreling. For example, Scotch whiskey, Irish whiskey, Japanese whiskey specifically are not distilled, made in the United States of America, so it cannot be classified as a bourbon. Also, bourbon must comprise of a minimum of 51% corn, and they must be aged in charred new oak barrels. and they can be distilled at no more than 160 proof. And no, bourbon does not have to be made in the state of Kentucky to be considered bourbon. Well, there you have it. 3 budget-friendly bourbons for your Friday. Go pick you up one and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.